Welcome. Look, this explainer of the book Meditations, it's not about comfort, it's really not an escape, and it is absolutely not some collection of inspirational quotes to just make you feel good on a bad day. No, it's a blade. Marcus Aurelius wrote this thing under immense, unrelenting pressure. And he didn't write it for applause. He definitely didn't write it for an audience. He literally wrote it to catch his own mind lying. So today we're going to dive into the severe, uncompromising reality of his philosophy, and we'll see exactly how this book completely dismantles the illusion of ownership.
You keep trying to own the day before it even touches you. Seriously, think about that for a second. You wake up, you glance at your calendar, and you immediately lay a claim on exactly how those hours should unfold. Well, that right there, that is the first theft. And it's not a theft committed by fate or your boss or bad traffic. It's committed by you. Now, to the untrained eye, this scarcity mindset kind of looks like prudence, right? It feels like being ready. It calls itself adult and responsible. But as we unpack the core mechanism of this book, we're going to discover that this constant, exhausting bracing for impact is actually a profound misunderstanding of what's truly yours.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to picture the emperor before dawn. Just imagine the room. There is no crown, no adoring crowd cheering him on. There's no clean historical myth here. There's literally only his breath, the cold cloth of his tunic, and a single hand holding a stylus over a scratched wax tablet. See, the entire Roman Empire is waiting right outside his door, but he knows the far more dangerous empire is the one waiting inside his own head. He fundamentally understands that scarcity is often just ownership wrapped up in a really convincing costume. And when you strip that costume away, what do you find? You find a mind desperately trying to claim territory it can just never hold. Now, the core move of his philosophy is incredibly severe. It's something called the ruling faculty. And I want to be super clear here. This is a strict operational discipline. It's not some vague spiritual concept or a fleeting mood of Zen serenity. Not at all. It is the precise psychological mechanism that separates the physical event, the actual thing that happened in the real world, from your judgment of that event. It's the daily discipline of separating the biological pain of a moment from that demanding, clinging little word, mine. Basically, it's the difference between saying, well, a cup broke, and oh no, my absolute favorite cup was taken from me. Let's take a look at a deeply held belief that honestly, so many of us quietly carry around. You might find yourself thinking, especially in your most exhausted moments, man, I can finally be free once the world just stops taking things from me. And look, I totally get it. I wish this weren't true. It sounds mature, right? It sounds like earned wisdom, or maybe intelligent risk management. But look at where that logic inevitably leads us. If you follow this through the lens of Meditations, your freedom now demands a dead, unchanging universe. People would have to stop dying. Bodies would have to stop aging. Markets would have to stop turning. Chance must literally ask for your permission before it acts. The crazy thing is, your desire for control is actually what starves you, because it forces you to wait around for a world that simply cannot and will not exist. So, the crucial point here is that we're faced with a pretty brutal dilemma. When the world shifts beneath your feet, you basically feel like you only have two choices. On the one hand, you can grip harder. You can tighten your fist and become the exhausted guard of a burning house, obsessively trying to protect what's already turning to smoke. Or, on the other hand, you can just let go. But to the modern mind, that risks looking naive, weak, and totally unprepared. It's a tough spot, right? Because both choices feel like defeat. But here's the kicker. They both kneel to the exact same false owner. They both mistake panic for preparation, assuming that peace is just some commodity you pay for by possessing things. And this brilliantly illustrates the solution, a colder, sharper delay protocol. See, scarcity absolutely hates the pause. It wants an instant verdict. It wants your old wounds promoted to the role of judge, like right now. But Marcus Aurelius trains a completely different reflex. He teaches the exact pause required before stamping an impression as the absolute truth. When chaos hits, you have to ask three things. First, what is here objectively, stripped of all my personal story? Second, what emotional baggage did I just add to it? And third, what actual duty remains for me to execute? I know, this three-part cut is not gentle, but it effectively takes your personal drama completely off the throne.
The emperor opens his hand and Ash answers. This is the ultimate anchoring paradox of his power. Think about it. He commands the known world. He can literally move armies with a whisper. Yet he trains himself every single morning to act with absolute, unwavering duty while maintaining zero claims of true ownership over the results. Sure, the marble hand has immense power, but the fine gray ash, it has none at all. Yet the ash tells the truth first. Eventually, it all slips through the fingers. The lesson here is that you can act with full duty. You can love fiercely. You can lead boldly. But you absolutely must do it without pretending that possession is a requirement for action.
Now think about the biological cost versus the historical cost of ignoring this. Just look at the human body. We possess this brilliant immune system, but if it misreads every single touch, every tiny speck of dust as a hostile invasion, well, that protection becomes a devastating autoimmune disease. Now look at the city. A camp sentinel can lock the gates forever to keep out foreign threats. And yeah, a city might easily survive one attack from an invading army that way, but it cannot live forever with its own gates locked. Trying to own and protect everything from change is exactly what starves you from the inside out.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the quote, "The obstacle is the way." It's a super famous quote, perhaps one of the most repeated lines from meditations, but it is fundamentally misunderstood by almost everyone. The obstacle doesn't block your philosophical practice, it actually becomes the practice. The rude email, the sudden illness, the broken plan, they aren't interruptions to your life. Not at all. They expose the hidden throne inside you, where a small, frightened voice is whispering, "Hey, this shouldn't happen to me. Not to me."
Here is the second, much deeper dilemma that this book forces us to face. If you keep your claims on what you believe is yours, you get to keep a villain. You get someone to blame when things go wrong, and you get to comfortably call your anxiety wisdom. But if you drop those claims, you leave yourself completely bare. There's no villain, there's no soft alibi to hide behind, there is only the pure accountability of your very next act. Both options force you to confront the exact same wound, your deep, unspoken desire for immunity from being human.
I really want you to look at the word on the screen, mine. Just let it sit there in the dark for a second. Let it accuse you. I want you to think of every single place in your life where you took a temporary loan from the universe and tried to fashion it into a permanent crown. The career, the body, the praise, the 5-year plan, even that version of yourself that absolutely no one is allowed to correct.
And this is exactly why you tried to own the day. You feared the day would reveal you. Scarcity, at its very core, wasn't just the fear of having less, it was the fear of sheer exposure. You were terrified that if the world could easily take away an outer thing, your status, your wealth, your perfect little routine, it would force a test upon your inner judge. And deep down, you weren't entirely sure that your inner judge was actually strong enough to survive the audit. Let's move to and see how this builds when we bring it out of antiquity and into the ordinary hour. Because the old mind absolutely still reaches for the crown in the modern world, too. It happens far away from the battlefield and the palace. It happens right at the kitchen counter. The inbox that just won't stop, the canceled plan, the sudden delay, the money that thins out. You immediately think, this should be fair, this should be stable, this should be mine. And once again, the crown just burns your fingers.
The protocol for dealing with this is harsh, it's uncompromising, and it is incredibly usable. It's a 0-second decision. You must execute under pressure, the exact moment that claim wakes up in your chest. Strip away the praise you thought you deserved. Strip away the insult you felt. Strip away the prophecy of what you think this all means for tomorrow. Then find the pure, bare act that remains. And if no physical act remains, find restraint. Because in this framework, restraint is still a highly deliberate action.
The reality is, the world will not stop taking. Your peace cannot wait for a dead, unchanging universe. What remains is not ownership. It is the absolute command of your own ascent. This explainer of the book Meditations isn't asking you to just passively admire the ideas presented here. Admiration is cheap heat. The real test is whether you actually use this mechanism the next time you feel the sting of loss. Deep dive the philosophy. This is the decision. Make it now, or not ever.
Nothing owned, nothing stolen. When the screen goes black, keep the judge awake.